Muy buenas tardes a todos. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos en esta Tribuna Colpatria Olimpia número 81. Hoy tenemos un invitado muy especial, el doctor Chris Bannister, que nos va a acompañar en una conferencia muy interesante acerca del liderazgo y rol de las empresas en la transformación. Chris Bannister es el CEO de WOM en Colombia. Y hoy tenemos un servicio especial de traducción simultánea que vamos a poner a disposición. Voy a dar unas instrucciones para que todos los asistentes conozcan.
Pero Daniel, el que quiera oírlo en inglés también puede hacerlo en inglés directamente, escogiendo inglés.
El que quiera escucharlo en inglés lo puede hacer. En el chat vamos a dejar las instrucciones, pero a mano derecha tenemos abajo en la opción de Zoom una opción que dice interpretación y ahí deben habilitar la opción español y posteriormente marcar la opción silenciar el audio original. Así que con esta información que también dejaremos en el chat voy a proceder a dar la presentación y después un saludo a Chris Bannister. Entonces, procedamos, por favor, a la presentación y ya saludamos a Chris. Adelante, Lady. Bueno, Chris Bannister ha sido un huracán de cambio para las telecomunicaciones en el mundo, amante de las aventuras y la adrenalina. Salió de Inglaterra en 1995 y desde entonces ha vivido en 11 países diferentes, en los que ha dejado su huella con exitosos emprendimientos. Tras una larga trayectoria en telecomunicaciones, en 2005 fue nombrado CEO del operador Play en Polonia e inició su carrera con el fondo de inversión islandés Novator Partners a la cabeza de Play. Chris logró explotar el potencial del pequeño operador y nivelar el mercado. Éxito que replicó en Chile al transformar Nextel en WOM. Con Chris no hay operador cómodo que pueda sentarse a sus anchas. Lucha para beneficiar a los usuarios con mejores servicios a precios justos. Es por eso que llega a Colombia en el 2020 a liderar WOM con la misma promesa: conectar a los desconectados, generar mayor dinamismo y competencia en el mercado y entregarle a los colombianos los servicios y precios de telefonía móvil que se merecen. Es un amante de la bicicleta. En una travesía que duró más de 59 días, recorrió el norte y de norte a sur el territorio chileno a través de 5.250 kilómetros de ruta, con el objetivo de generar conciencia sobre el cambio climático. Well, Mr. Chris, thank you for joining us today in the Tribuna Colpatria Olimpia. This is our conference number 81. For Colpatria Olimpia and me, it will be a pleasure to listen to you and know how you are leading the transformation of mobile phone services in Colombia with WOM. Thank you again, and go ahead, please.
Okay, thanks very much. So I'd just like to say a big hello to all your participants. I've got a slideshow, which will probably take about 40 minutes, and then I'm looking forward to some really interesting questions. And I think that's the interesting part for all of us in terms of what else could I what else could we talk about? So I don't know if my slideshow is being seen. Can people see the slideshow? I don't think it's Louisa. I think we've got a...
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Let me... Something's occurred. Okay, let me just look at this. Is that it? Are we on?
It's ready.
Okay. So, as the title says, it's not about launching a telephone network. It's about creating a kick-ass company. The culture of our company is what makes us a success. a telephone company is made up of base stations, and it's made up of billing systems and a lot of big technology. But anyone can build the base stations. Anyone can build a billing system, but it's the people who do it that actually transforms a company into success. The beauty of telecoms is it's a big business. And being a big business where everybody wants one of these, it allows us to transform a whole society. And that's why we're here in Colombia. I say, Colombia doesn't really need another telephone company. What it needs is transformation as a whole, and we're here to do our part on that. As the intro said, I'm probably not your regular corporate CEO. I'm 62 years old. I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie. Colombia is my 11th country where I have entered and tried to transform the society based on building a telecommunications company. Not only have I say 11 countries, but I think when you look at where I've worked, they cover all types of countries. Rich countries like Singapore, the UK and Sweden, and poor countries like Myanmar, Nigeria, Vietnam. And the other interesting part from my perspective is they've also covered Christian countries, Buddhist countries, and Muslim countries. And so to get a feel for business in these very diverse countries has been probably what's kept me energetic and loving the telecommunications industry. The one big thing that I've discovered in working in all these different countries is the consumer actually wants the same in all these different types of countries. You know, whether you're in Sweden or you're in Azerbaijan, the consumer wants a product that is a bit better, a product that is a bit cheaper, and they want to belong to a company that they feel connected with. So the consumer doesn't change. What actually I've noticed changes in all of these is how do you build high-performing teams in each of these different countries where you've got different religion or different socio-economics, and your people that you recruit are motivated by significantly different activities. I know when I was in Asia in the 90s and early 2000s, I remember talking about empowerment and decision-making. And this was just during the 1997 currency crash that was pretty big affecting. So we needed to transform the company. And I remember my Chinese Malay staff coming over in fear almost, because they didn't want to be empowered. They actually wanted to be told what to do. So there it was a big cultural shift and a leadership shift to how do you take a Chinese Malay workforce who were scared of empowerment and create an organization where decisions are made not from the CEO down, but from the grassroots up. When I come over to Latin America, again, the people in Chile and Colombia change in terms of a lot of my staff have come from very hierarchical organizations, you know, what I call the dark side, where they have been told what to do. They don't necessarily want, or they're not used to being fully responsible. So part of my time here in Colombia is training up people in our culture, which is very open, very accessible. None of us have offices, including myself. Very quick time to market, and very intense. And people usually take 3 to 6 weeks to get used to that. And during that 3 or 6 week period, they actually go through this transformation of shock and horror when they arrive to loving it and getting part of it after about 6 or 8 weeks. And that's been part of our success. And I'll take you through that more in a few more slides. In these 11 countries, there's a quote somewhere that says 75% of all startups fail. I think one of the things I'm the most proud of is that of the 11 companies I've led over the last 30 years, every one of them is still operationally going. None of them have been bought out by the dark side, by the incumbents. 3 of them are number 1, coming from number 4 to number 1, and all of them successful. Now, why does that occur? What is the difference between a lot of fourth operators? And if I take Chile as an example, where before we entered Chile, Nextel, a big American company, spent $1 billion. They failed. After 8 years, they got 200,000 customers. That is all. Again, in Chile, VTR, which is owned by Liberty Latam, the biggest cable company in Chile, it tried to get into mobile. They failed because they couldn't compete with Claro, Movistar, and Entel, who is owned by one of the rich Chilean families. So those 2 companies had been in there, big parents, big money, and failed to make an impact. And I can't deny, when we entered Chile, the big guys, what I call the monsters of Latam telecoms, Claro and Movistar, they thought, oh yeah, we've had 2 other competitors before, and they've seen them fail. We came in with our style and our management, and we've already, after 6 years, got 23% market share. We are so successful, the mighty Claro in Chile had to do a JV with Liberty Latam 2 weeks ago to survive in Chile because of the intensity of the market that they've got there. So what's the secret? What do we do that is different? Because as I said in my intro, a telco, everybody builds base stations. Everybody's got a billing system. But what makes us different that in 11 countries, all 11 are still successful? It's what we call the new capitalism. We've been preaching this, and our management style has been like this for over a decade now. In Poland in 2005, when I launched Play, and I was competing with Orange, Vodafone, and T-Mobile, and we were, again, the number 4 operator. Again, nobody thought we'd be successful, but we don't approach it the traditional way. We know we've got to invest big. Colombia will be about $1 billion. We'll build 8,000 base stations. So it's a big investment, but we don't focus on the money. We focus on what's our sense of purpose. That plays a big part in our engagement with our staff. We've got to get what is now 2,200 people fully engaged in changing Colombia. This is not just a Chris Bannister show. It's about getting the culture that makes sure that 2,200 of my staff are not here to be a telco. They're here to change Colombia. And so that social contribution that we make, that community impact, that the brand needs to be able to engage and talk the street language. not the people who live in Sector 5 or Sector 6, but to the people who live in Colombia. You know, the 85% of people who we need to talk their language, and they need to understand that things like my tattoos, where we say we all count, it's not just words, it's not just a tattoo, but it's in everything we do. I mentioned about our culture and the empowerment of employees. It can be daunting. You come in here where either Mexico has told you what to do or Miami has told you what to do. We're on our own. This is my 2,200 people. That, for a lot of people, when you're spending the amount of money we are, is a bit scary, a bit daunting. And I say, I've noticed that it takes a 6-week process for people to go from excitement, fear, to, wow, I can add value. And that comes down to this employee empowerment, as we call it, where they make the decisions and they take the responsibility. My role as a leader has to be to inspire those people to want to do that, not just want to turn up in the office to do a telecoms product, but to want to come in and create a difference. And then that inspiration needs to feed from my 2,200 people into the people and our customers that we serve. Our purpose, as I say, it's not to deliver a telco in Colombia. You've got 3. You don't need a telco. What you actually need is an organization that can create this impact, that can change Colombia. As a European, I look at Colombia and it's scary. And we all look at it thinking, wow, you know, we've seen the Colombia on Netflix. We've seen or heard about some of the horror stories. And we're here to say, how do we change that? And we've got to change that by doing the right thing, by living our values, and say not by just tattoos, but actually making sure that we are transparent, making sure that we have a culture of honesty that people want to belong to. And that means that we can build this organization that will change and transform Colombia. This, what I'm showing you now, is one of our adverts. I say, we don't believe in smiling people on a beach. Our advert should say something. And the advert should say something, first of all, to my 2,200 people, and then say something to the 50 million people that are out there. I just want to make sure. Yeah.
Impensable darle posibilidades a gente de otro estrato. Impertinente querer un salario mínimo digno. Improbable conseguir empleo sin tener que pasar trabajo. Impactante tener que decidir entre comer o estudiar. Impune lo que pasa a la vuelta de la esquina. ¡Basta! Es imposible ser una telefonía que no se conecta con lo que está pasando. Es imperdonable que estar conectado siga siendo un lujo y la mayoría no tenga acceso. Y es por eso que no venimos solamente a vender datos. Nosotros vinimos a impartir un cambio. Porque cuando nada te impide conectarte, lo que se impone son las oportunidades. El cambio es imparable y todo lo que mereces también. One, mereces más.
You can see from that our brand, you can see from that our brand, it engages. It's not here to be smiling, attractive people. Our brand is here to actually engage with 50 million people, to actually talk over and get people talking about one. We tend to try to be a little provocative, hence the rat as the president of Colombia. And it's that sort of imagery that actually starts to cut through to our brand itself. We then turn around and say, to transform a country, yeah, how does that feed into people's lives? And when we launched, we reduced, not only did we reduce the cost of using a mobile phone, we reduced it by about 32%. We actually transformed and changed and reduced the inflation rate here in Colombia. That was the impact that our launch had. Now, once you start to actually transform pricing to that sort of level, and the whole of the country starts to follow it, that starts to have a productivity impact, and that allows people to be able to get involved in the digital society. And that allows all social classes to be able to come in and partake in this digital world that we, being relatively well-paid people, we've known for several years. But we've got to bring that pricing and that service level down to normal people here in Colombia. And you can see from the charts here, we had that impact already, even in just less than 6 months of our launch. One of the examples I like to quote is in 2015, when we entered Chile, the usage of a gigabit in Chile was 1 gigabit per month for the average Chilean. The usage in Colombia in 2015, at the same time, was actually 10% more at 1.1 gigabits per month. Now, 5 years after competition, 5 years after WOM launched into Chile, the 1 gigabit per month went up to 10. In Colombia, it went to 2. And that's despite Chile's minimum wage being double that of Colombia. That's the difference that competition made to Chile. That's the difference that getting people using gigabits, taking part in the digital society, making sure that productivity, that everybody can take part in being part of that digital society. You have to be able to use gigabits. You have to be able to afford your mobile phone. In Colombia, that was not the case. And that's the reason why we entered Colombia. And that's the reason when I look at this chart here and see we've already, even after only 6 months of launch, had a huge impact on changing that transformation. Our user base here, we came in now and we've actually got, our minimum tariff is 15 gigabits for less than $10. That helps to transform society because they can get involved in productivity gains. This pricing is unheard of in 5 or 6 months ago in Colombia. 17,500 for 30 gigabits. Before we entered, before April, it used to be Chile went from the most expensive to the cheapest in LATAM. And Colombia used to be the 15th most expensive country to use a mobile phone in Latin America. I'm pleased to say Colombia is now cheaper than Chile, as it should be when the minimum wage is half that of Chile. Another pain that people used to have prepaid. We now provide a service that keeps you connected all the time. So just for 1 peso, 1,000 pesos, you will be given WhatsApp unlimited for 12 months. That has allowed people to just talk, send videos, send pictures, communicate, chat. 1,000 pesos for 12 months. That's the revolution that we've made in prices, and that gets people engaged and hopefully reactivates the country by making people much more engaging and with each other and driving their own businesses. I mentioned at the beginning, our culture is what creates our success. We've got what we want to do is create a kick-ass culture. We're not here to do the status quo. We're actually here to actually live the values that we've got. lots of companies, and I've got to be honest, I think it's lots of companies are, it's trendy to say, oh, let's a social capitalism or LGBT. Yeah, those are nice trendy words, but a culture is about what do you do? What's your policies? What's your actions? Not what the tattoos are on your arms or whatever, but what are the actions that you do? And do your 2,200 people see those actions every day? Our culture is based on 4 values. We don't have a long, boring mission statement. We don't say, oh, we want to be agile, customer-centric, forward-leaning, best in class. We don't believe in that crap. We actually believe in just 4 values. Those values that we as shareholders and me as the CEO must live, and we've got to show those every day. The first value is brave. And you turn around there and say, it's a strange value to have. But these values didn't come from myself. The first 20 people who came into the organization in March 2020, I basically said, what organization do you want to belong to? What's the values that you want that organization to portray? Brave came up there. And I thought, okay, we've been brave. We're putting $1 billion in. You guys have been brave. You've left the dark side, safe knife jobs, and you've come and joined me because you want to change Colombia. And you trust that we will deliver, and you're brave enough to jump. So people wanted a brave company. We're brave. You saw the advert that we just put forward. We're talking of social change. We're talking of those actions that make people feel uncomfortable, especially politicians. That's brave. And it shows that we're brave in everything we do. Passion. Again, not just another tattoo. This is my Viking tattoo. This symbol is a Viking symbol, which means where there is a will, there is a way. But it says keep the passion. And we always say, I would rather have someone who's passionate than someone who is dull and an expert. I can create and train up a telecoms expert. I can't train up passion. So we look for people to join us who are passionate about change, passionate about serving the customer. And therefore that's passion about every day and passion to focus on the detail every day to take us to the next level of change. Committed, got to be committed. We're building, we committed to the government in December 2019 in the auction that brought us into Colombia. We committed that we would build in the rural sites, 674 sites that had never had the internet before. And these places are in some tough areas, high security risk areas, difficult to get to areas. Colombia is a big country, as you guys all know more than I do. But we committed we would build and connect the unconnected in 674 rural communities. And we said we'd do that in 1 year, in 12 months from getting the license. And then we got hit by the pandemic in March. Now, what does most companies do? Do most companies turn around and say, oh, there's a pandemic. I can't make my 12-month commitment, Colombian government. No, we actually delivered on our commitment. We recruited the people in a pandemic. The first 800 people were recruited over Zoom. By the time the quarantine had come over by September, October, when the country started to reactivate, I'd already recruited 700 people. I'd already built about 500 sites and antennas, and we made our commitment. And I want that same commitment in every policy I write, and I want that same commitment in every one of my 2,200 people. We didn't say it's too difficult, Kevin. We got out there and we built those sites. The biggest one, and probably the most important one, especially when you're running a company, is honesty. It's also one of the tough ones. By honesty, we mean we want to be honest with each other. Honesty doesn't necessarily mean being nice. If someone does a bad presentation, we need to be able to tell them. If someone makes mistakes, there needs to be feedback. That honesty is a significant part of our feedback mechanism to my staff. Also, we've got to be honest to our shareholders. We've got to be honest to the customers out there. No tricky little small print that tends to creep into big business. And that's where we've been very powerful in keeping that honesty, especially when we're dealing with a country that we don't know as Europeans. We've got to be honest, and that keeps us consistent, and that allows us to drive forward and succeed. As I say, it's not a tattoo. It was a very painful tattoo. I did this actually tattoo for our brand launch, which was about diversity. But I say, we all count is something that we are passionate about. When I say we all count, black, white, rich, poor, gay, straight, male, female, we don't look at any of those characteristics. We look at you. It's what can you bring to one. We don't build a network where we can get the rich people. We build a network in sectors 1, sector 2. We build a network in the rural communities because we all count. We've got to bring people into the digital society, wherever you come from in the country. As an example of we all count, we've been voted one of the most friendliest companies to do business with. Our recruitment policies are transparent. We don't ask where you live when you join us. Our health insurance actually supports LGBT and allows the sexual transition if that's what people want to do, because we all count. And our policies and procedures must reflect that, not just tattoos on CEOs' arms. And so that's what I mean by the success that we've had around the world and the success that we're having here in Colombia is because of our consistency and our culture, and we live the values, and those values are seen in our policies and the way we manage our people and talk to our customers. This is our leadership model. It is about this empowerment, teamwork, collaboration. You don't build something this complicated, 3,200 base stations in less than 12 months all over Colombia without teamwork and accountability. This getting people curious and critical thinking, this is part of our leadership management model. We talk about empowering, and we talked about a sustainable capitalism, social capitalism. We need to win the hearts and minds of the communities, not the rich communities, but communities who are underserved in the digital society. So we work significantly with the community leaders around, and we provide beautification of those cities. We provide connecting the unconnected. That doesn't just mean the technical, we put a base station and you've got an internet connection. How do you use that internet connection? In several of our rural communities, we've built classrooms. We've actually done a big partnership with Google to teach 800 hours of digital education. And that's part of our what we call the WOMers in Action program, where we don't just spend money and get other people to do this. We as WOMers go to the community and we paint and improve and teach digital inclusivity. Social change. We want to look at what are the pain points. To be honest, there's a lack of opportunity here in Colombia. When we look at research, and you see that a person born in a low-income community can take 9 generations to become a middle-class society. That's because there's a lack of opportunity. It's because there's inequality. Oh, we don't ask what school do you go to. Oh, you went to the right school, you can employ us. It's irrelevant. We should create a society which is much more equal. Unemployment's a big issue. And what we've done already, recruited 2,200 people, direct employees on our payroll, helps to reactivate the country. But we've also created another 5,000 indirect jobs, building the base stations, building the 200 shops that we've got already, operating our logistics delivery systems. So that creates employment. And so we've done our bit on that. And of course, there's violence. It's a tough country. And we need to be able to give people hope and opportunity as a means that will end the violence that we know is all too endemic in and around some of the Colombian cities. One of the areas that we've got there is what we call vetuomas, where we go in and we create the opportunity for people to learn digital marketing skills, to get people on board who can run their own businesses. Yes, you can make artistic artifacts that you can sell. Yes, you can create other avenues for your own business. But if we want to make entrepreneurs from people who've not had the digital training, we need to actually give them those tools. And so we've created what we call the Vetuomas program, where you get this 80 hours of training so that at the end of it, you can be a master of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and social media to engage with your business and make your business better. And we've dealt with 14 organizations in 18 rural communities around Colombia to bring people and give people that hope and opportunity, not just by providing them a lower cost mobile telephone, but teaching them the digital tools. Parche Digital, this is where we created a classroom. We provided the laptops, recycled laptops, so that we can protect against the damage that electronic waste does. Provided it in conjunction with Google, trained up the teachers, got the children inspired to get involved in technology. But I got to say, the most important thing we did in this classroom, because it's in La Guajira, we actually provided air conditioning so the children can actually learn in comfort and confidence with the technology. And for me personally, that was a really satisfying thing for me to get involved in and to see the growth of that. I mentioned about our communication. Communication and branding should be about timing and relevance. And this one here is about identifying that, certain suppliers or a supplier of fruit to schools was not delivering his promise. He was showing bad leadership. He was delivering bad fruit to school children and making a profit. So to be honest, we put it out on Instagram. We got something like 10,000 views and likes. We identified the bad practice from this supplier. And the next day, we were in La Guajira delivering fruit to the school children. It's not our role to deliver fruit. We're a telecoms company. It is our role to identify poor leadership, corrupt practices, and then to show that big business should do the right thing and to put our words in action. And that engages us. And I say, branding is not about nice, pretty pictures. Branding is about a message. WOM stands for word of mouth. It's about saying, this is bad leadership, this is good leadership. WOM wants to be doing the good leadership. And that's what branding is about. But the beauty of it is the timing and the relevance. We put this on within 12 hours of this problem hitting the news. We were doing something about it. That timing is what provides that engagement to 50 million Colombians. It's nice to be able to say we're so good, or to have nice PowerPoint slideshows and to have a nice TVC that you've just seen. But what have we actually done and is it starting to bear fruit? We have already achieved 1 million users in 4 months. To put that into context, it took Claro 6 years. It took Movistar 5 years. It took Tigo over 12 months. It took us just 4 months to get the first 1 million customers. I even beat the Chilean record. It took me 7 months in Chile. So to do this in a country with as competitive market as the dark side are providing was terrific testament to my 2,000 warmers. We've already built our 4G network. It's like 3,250 antennas covering 34 million people. And we did that in a pandemic. We've done that in less than 12 months. Only 6 months after launch, my network is nearly half the size of Claro's, and they've been in the business for the last 10 years. As of 30 minutes ago, my HR director said, you've not got 2,000 warmers anymore. You've got 2,206 recruited on our payroll, all trained up in the warm culture. 200 shops that we've built. Every month, we're building 15 new shops, boom, 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 all over Colombia. And as I said earlier, we've already met our commitment to the government and connected 630 rural communities who had never been connected before. And in some of those communities, we're now rolling out Party Digital and training and teaching the teachers and the children digital skill sets. So I'm really pleased with what we've achieved. And I've got to be honest, you should all be pleased as well. And I say that because I've only achieved this because of the talent of Colombians. I've never built more than 9 shops a month. I'm building 15 a month. I've never built more than 100 base stations a month. I'm building 100 base stations per week here. And that's not because of Chris Bannister. That's because of the talent of my 2,206 Colombian staff. And we need, as one, and everybody needs to tell everybody outside of Colombia just how good the talent here is in Colombia, so that we can get other foreign direct investors investing in this talent all over Colombia, because I've been really impressed. I mean, I've lived and worked in the best telco countries supposedly in the world: Singapore, Sweden, Denmark, Austria. I've done all those countries, but the talent here, second to none. And we need to make sure that the 50 million Colombians believe and the rest of the world believes, because it is very, very impressive. So my last slide, before I take your questions. We're not here to build a telco. We're here to change the rules of the game, and we're here to change Colombia. And it's so exciting to be here. Thanks a lot. Is there any questions?
Well, Chris, wonderful presentation. Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing your global experience and leadership model with us. It was valuable to hear about WOM's culture, vision, and challenges. I want to highlight your message about inspiring people, passion, and commitment. They are powerful statements that show the culture that you are building in One Colombia. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we are going to move on to the next part of the lecture with questions. Voy a darle la palabra a los que quieran participar. Tenemos preparado nuestro traductor para que los que deseen hacer participación en vivo lo hagan. Chris está escuchando la traducción en vivo. Ok. Voy a darle la palabra a Edgardo Oñoro y después a Leonardo Rojas.
Hey, Leonardo.
Edgardo, adelante. Estoy activándose.
Oh, Edgardo.
Thank you, Daniel. Good evening, Chris. I want to congratulate you.
Adelante, Edgardo, ya está con el micrófono abierto.
For the work you are doing at one. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you reach the more remote areas in Colombia that do not have access to internet or cellular phone at low cost?
Bueno, mientras Edgardo se organiza el audio, voy a darle la palabra a Leonardo Rojas.
Yeah, I mean, Colombia, as you're all aware, it's a big country, and you've got some difficult terrain, not only mountains, but also jungles as well. And we do have to build our sites and meet our commitments there. Again, I would like to say we've done this because of the commitment and the passion of my people to make it happen. I've seen my people drive tractors through streams, swamps, and rivers with big microwave dishes on to get to these communities. And they can take 2 to 3 days, some of them, to get the materials just in the right place. Then we've got to start building. Because of the locations, we've got to build very high structures. Most of the towers that we build are actually based on 45-meter steel mass. A lot of the power and electricity is generated by either solar power, alternative energy, or we have to manage through diesel generator batteries. That we try to avoid because there's a maintenance issue. So we try, in most cases where we have alternative renewable energy, solar panels, etc., to be able to power the base station. One challenge is the transmission, to take the base station and then connect it to the rest of my network. Surprisingly, you have quite a lot of fiber around Colombia. You've actually got more fiber than I had in Azerbaijan or Myanmar. Where you don't have fiber, then we try to do a microwave dish. Microwave for the transmission can go about 10 kilometers. So there's usually several hops that we have to go from the base station to get it to the rest of the big cities. Where the hops are too many, i.e. if it's more than 4 or 5 hops, then technically it becomes difficult to use microwave. Therefore, then we have to do satellite. So we beam it up and beam it down. That's not the most cheapest way of doing it, but it's in some cases the only way we can do it. And that was a commitment we made to the Colombian government. So we don't use a low-cost technology. We actually know that these communities need access to the internet, and we provide the best technology for the terrain. But I got to say, it is a challenge physically, and I'm really pleased of the commitment of my own engineers to actually make it happen.
Bueno, le voy a dar la palabra en este momento a Leonardo Rojas. Leonardo, okay. Adelante.
Hello.
Thank you. Hi. So my question is, okay, I love how you talk about the values on the company and also all the talent that you have in the company. So my question is, have you found any difficulties like learning to integrate with Colombian culture? Have there been like any difficult points, and how did you manage to get over them?
It's a great question. I think it's in 2 parts. I think the first part was I struggled with Colombia, or let's call it the Colombian culture. The good news is I've had 11 experiences, or I've had quite a lot of practice to be able to get used to different culture. Secondly, sometimes it's actually an advantage not to be able to speak the language. And I know most of you say, what? And it's probably an excuse for my laziness. But when you can't speak the words, you then have to do other communication tools. And sometimes when you speak the words, you miscommunicate. Even when you're Spanish to Spanish, or you're a Chilean talking to a Colombian. Yes, you speak the right words, although I think some Colombians have said they can't tell what Chileans say. But you miscommunicate with each other. Because I don't know the Spanish, I have to make sure that my actions are consistent, that my actions are understood, that my PowerPoint is fully understood, that the policies that we come up with and the procedures reinforce my lack of Spanish. So I have to probably try harder to integrate because of the lack of language, but I think there are some benefits because communication, effective communication, is not just about words. It's about all the actions we do and what people see and feel from us. And on that aspect, I've had a lot of practice, and I think that makes for better full communication. One of the difficulties I have in Colombia, of course, is 50 million Colombians can do the salsa. But when you're a European, wow, doing the salsa, my hips are just too European. So fitting into your dance culture, not easy as a 62-year-old European. But I'm learning. The other part of the question I would probably say is, what challenges have I had with Colombian with each other? Colombia's society is much more hierarchical than I expected. And there is, I say, when people join one, they feel it's a bit intense and a bit scary not to have a cubicle, not to be surrounded by their empire or their turf. This exposure is a concern. Collaboration is a challenge, I think, in the first 6 weeks when people come. People sort of are used to hiding information. Our culture is about opening that up and getting people to trust that it's okay to get stuff wrong. And if you get stuff wrong, raise your hand and say, I screwed up. And then we can put it right. That, I've got to own up, I've been surprised, is something that my team have to learn. And it takes about 6 to 8 weeks for them to get used to that culture. And we do have to work very hard on that. The office, which you can't quite see here, completely open plan. Halloween was a fantastic time for team building, where we had contests between the 6 floors here and in the regional offices to get people used to collaborating across the floors. So we put a lot of effort into that teamwork and that communication. And so we work very hard to break down those barriers. Again, as a foreigner, as someone who feels the warmth of living with Colombians, I'm surprised in a working environment, it is a bit hierarchical and it is a little bit lacking in teamwork. And that's the bit that we've got to spend a lot of time working on to make sure that we do partake. But you can see from the results we've had, you can't build a base station unless you've got teamwork. And we're building 100 a week. That takes tremendous amount of teamwork. So the culture and the development is starting to pay off. But it surprised me. I thought that would be natural in the Colombian society, but it's something we've worked hard at. Hopefully that answers the question. Another question?
Sí, vamos a darle la palabra a Andrés Forero y después a Santiago Durán. Andrés, adelante con la pregunta.
Yeah. Hi, Chris. Thank you. Fantastic presentation. Thank you very much. Just wonder how you managed to get so lower prices. That is the first question. Mm-hmm. And how you maintain it. I guess is based on volume, but I just want to know from you, what is your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of how do we get lower prices? I mean, first of all, our business model is actually quite a lot different. The beauty of competing with other telcos is they're incredibly profitable. I mean, Claro's EBITDA in Colombia is about 43%, which is really high. When you get so much cash generation, you become lazy and fat. You get executive offices, you get chauffeur-driven cars, you start going to conferences. Telcos waste an enormous amount of money. You become bureaucratic. You have executive suites, and it's happened the world over. You know, Poland, Austria, the incumbent telcos. A lot of them had more drivers than I had people in my IT department. Now, that's a lot of drivers when you're in Nigeria or you're in, or even in Chile, to be honest. We don't do that. We just focus our money on the customer. We don't have a big headquarters staff. I don't know the numbers of Tigo, Movistar, and Claro, so I'll give you numbers. I've only worked for one incumbent once, and that was in Myanmar. And they had, and it was for an Arab country, they had 469 people in headquarters, just checking up on what we were doing in country. 400 people. It was like a quarter of my staff. I'm sure in Miami, in Mexico, and in Madrid, you've got people in Movistar, Claro, Tigo, just not adding any value to the customers in Colombia. They're just adding cost. We don't do that. In Novator, my ownership structure is Novator. They're Icelandic, 5 Icelandics and 5 mixed breeds, I would say, from Turkey or Scotland, etc. So 10 people. That's it. No big headquarters, because they don't add value. And that, again, fits with our culture that we are responsible. We don't even have that much of a formal relationship with Chile, because it's not, oh, let's get a bureaucratic and buy handsets between Chile and Colombia. No, let's buy handsets ourselves, because we want handsets for the Colombian market, and we want handsets now, not wait for bureaucracy between us and Chile, or Mexico, or Miami, or Madrid. That allows us to pass all those wasted costs into the consumer. The other thing, we've built a brand new network. We've got the best spectrum going. We don't have any legacy systems. We've got a brand new billing system. We don't have old legacy systems that we have to keep going, that are inefficient. So again, that new technology allows us to provide better quality at a lower cost. So that's also a significant part of the cost savings. In terms of, can we maintain it? To be honest, we have to maintain it. We need, and we will get 25% market share. In Poland, it took me 8 years to get above 25% market share. We now are number one with 28.5% market share. In Chile, it took me 5 years to get 22% market share. To do that, you've got to just do 3 things. 1, you've got to be a bit better. 2, you've got to always be a bit cheaper. And 3, you've got to build a brand and a culture that people want to engage with. Your own staff want to belong to it, and 50 million Colombians want to engage with it. And we focus everything on those 3 things. We don't focus on when do we pay dividends to Miami, or when do we pay debt off in Madrid. We focus on building those 3 things for 50 million Colombians. And that allows us to keep our prices such that the consumer wants it, because there is just so much excess fat in your average dark side telco. Hopefully that answers your question. Another question?
Vamos a darle la palabra a Santiago Durán. Santiago, adelante.
Please, thank you very much. Really nice, really nice. I just have a question because I have seen all this marketing and everything. I told you you have to explain since your first slide, kick-ass, and now the last slide, let's keep building epic shit. I just want to know what does it mean, what does WOM means, or what is the origin of your brand name?
Okay, they came from Chile, and we were looking we're going around to 4 agencies in Chile, and they all come up with boring, really, really boring stuff. You know, like smiling people on the beach. It could have been like any of the dark side companies. And one of the small independent agencies came up and said, "It's not about brand. It's about WOM." What's WOM? Word of mouth. We do shit. We get shit done. We don't really need even the TVC, but the TVC should say, what stuff do we want to get done? So let's get people talking about it. Let's get the word of mouth about something different is happening. So that's where word of mouth came from. When I came to Colombia, I thought, I don't know whether WOM will work in Colombia. Because we don't tie ourselves to what we did in previous countries. And then we researched a lot of names. Agencies came up with some new names, and the one that came out, WOM. And the culture of my first 20 people, let's be WOM. Let's get people talking about us. And then, to be honest, do epic shit. It's not about doing average. It's not when the epic shit came from about doing stuff that people talk about. Let's not build, a shop. Let's build 15. Let's not do, a bike ride. Let's do a bike ride of 5,250 kilometers. Let's do epic shit. Everyone can do average. You don't transform a country by being average. You don't go from number 4 to number 1 by being average. You've got to believe and every day say, what's the epic shit I'm going to do today? And that's our philosophy.
Right.
Okay.
Gracias.
Vamos a hacer la última intervención de Felipe Samper. Felipe, buenas tardes y adelante.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Mr. Bannister was excellent. Just one question. All the scholars tell us that in the short term, pricing is always a good way of getting results. But in the long term, it shows that, it's not sustainable.
Yep.
So the question is, how do you know this is gonna, in the long run, be a good model? Or if not, what would be your answer, or how one would change if it's not sustainable? And again, thanks for your presentation.
And a good question. And I'd like to go back to our 3 pillars. My life's easy. I've got the easiest job in the world. Everybody wants one of these. Everybody, 50 million Colombians wants one of these. I don't have to create that demand. You guys in the banking world, you've got to get people to want a credit card. You've got to, or want a loan. I don't. Everybody wants one of these. Now, I've just got to make sure I can put this in your hands with 3 things. 1, as you say, a bit cheaper. Now, a bit cheaper can be, as we've done today, the price point drops by 35, 40%. And then it evolves into, yes, a bit cheaper and a bit more. And you probably gather our tagline is, you deserve more. So the price point is the big one, the one that catches the consumer's eyes. And then it's about saying, you deserve more. And so then it moves into, we give you more value. So, but we've always got to be the value provider. We will never move away from it because our business model allows me to do that. I know my business model allows me to win a price war. It will, every country I enter, I know it's going to be a price war and a bloodbath on the streets. And I know I'm going to win it because of our culture. The next thing we've got to do it's not just about price. We've actually got to be a bit better. We're already, I think 2 weeks ago, was voted the #2 network in Colombia by, I think it was COC's testing. And that's after 6 months. We know we've got to be better. Price is not good enough on its own. We've got to do both price or value and quality. When I tell about the brand, one of the Chilean companies, the name, they heard my speech about we have to do both. Price is not good enough on its own, but it needs to be there, and we need to be better. And then one of their names they came up with was price and quality. They wanted to go and, because in business, you've got to be both. You can no longer be monocentric. Otherwise, you're easy to copy. You've got to be price and you've got to be better. You've got to be better serving in your shops. You've got to be better serving in your call centers. You've got to be better at providing an online self-service. And that's really tough to start at day zero. After 6, I've got to say, the first 2 months of my launch, I was definitely not better than Claro, Tigo, and Movistar. Hence the reason we were free. But we're not. But we had to overcompensate for price. But now we're actually as good, if not better, than some of them. But we need to get better and better and better. And that's the continual passion to detail every day. And then the third one is create a company that my staff want to engage with, and create a company that 50 million Colombians. And the importance of that, of which I'm educating some of my people, my brand guys. My brand guys, if I'm truthful, would say to you, the quality or the sexiness or the engagement of the TVC is what defines the brand. Absolutely not. What defines my brand is when there's 125 people go into any one of my shops, or my 200 shops. 120 people go into my shops every day. What defines my brand is what those 120 people feel inside the shop talking to my people. Do they, 10 of them approximately, buy something? Great. They're engaged with one. But the other 110 people, do they go home at night, and when someone's wife or husband says, "What did you do today?" do they actually say, "Oh, I actually went into a wop shop, spoke to this really nice guy or girl"? That's the brand, not the TVC. That feel when you walk into one of my shops. That's the bit that creates that passion and commitment. If you went to Poland today, and I left Poland in 2010, I think if you went into, we were called Play actually in Poland, still Purple, but we're called Play. If you went into one of my shops, and it's now 21 years since I left, but I think you can still feel that energy and passion. That's the brand. Because that brand comes from the culture of the company. And that's what creates the long-term value. I've always got to get the three mixed right. Price, quality, and that engagement, that brand. And I've got to do all three. And that's what creates a sustainable long-term business. But I'm lucky, the fact that telcos are so bad at this, and they are so fat in terms of the cost base. So it makes my life easy, certainly in the first 12 to 18 months. I hope that answers your question, Philip.
Chris, wonderful. What was an excellent presentation. Yeah, congratulations again on your leadership and one results. Amazing.
Thank you.
On behalf of Olimpia and Colpatria Group, I want to thank you for your time, and we hope you will join us again next year here in this space. Thank you. Thank you again.
I'd love to. Thanks, then. Thank you. Take care, everyone. All have a good night. Ciao.
Buenas noches para todos. Hasta luego.